It is strategy, tactics, and implementation. Imagine a Venn diagram, strategy, tactics, implementation. That point where they all meet, that is the sweet spot.
This week, I'm so excited to have Neta Talmor on the Grow with Evelyn podcast. Neta is one of my business partners and she has become a friend. She has built No Hassle website, which has served over 10,000 clients over the past years and currently has a membership as well on top of No Hassle website, where she helps over 300 entrepreneurs every single month to regain momentum in their business. Neta, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation with me.
Thank you so much, my dear. I'm honored to be here.
Neta, you have had such a beautiful, adventurous entrepreneurial journey. Can you give me the quick rundown of all you did?
Yes. Okay, so first thing you need to know is that I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I basically have never worked for anyone else. It's one of my biggest prides in life, but it doesn't mean it was successful. Not at all. So I started in my teens, but then really in my early 20s, I started my first businesses. I have done everything, every type of business you can imagine. And I didn't actually have sustainable success until I started No Hassle website 8 years ago. So about 20 years in the making, more or less, before I had a really successful business. So I had businesses that were successful for a short time. I had businesses that did okay, but then something happened, all kinds of stories. And I had businesses that never made $1 and cost me a lot of money. So that's pretty much, I did wedding dresses from a studio in China sent to brides in the UK. I had a boutique hotel in Costa Rica. I had a cloth diaper business. Anything you can think of, I've done.
Which was your favorite failed business out of all of those?
Oh, it has to be the Costa Rica hotel. So we lived 5 years in Costa Rica. We only made money when we sold the hotel. So it was not a complete fail. But during those years, it was very special. It was amazing. It was, a lifetime experience that I carry with me. But it was not financially sustainable. The couple who bought it has had it now for 17 years or so, and they've done very well, actually. They've done it very well. They turned it into a yoga retreat place, so that was perfect, and that was not the right model for us. So that's my favorite failed one.
The favorite failed one. Did you have already have your kids when you were there?
No. That's really the main reason we decided to leave Costa Rica, was because we didn't want to start our family there. It was too far from other family. So my children were born in Canada. Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you share so transparently and openly, because I think it's really, reassuring for people to hear that this is what the journey looks like, right? I also have, when I look back, business attempts and, things that worked for a while and then imploded in the past. So I think that we all have this little project graveyard. I would love to know, what was the first thing that got you hooked on entrepreneurship, and why did you never quit despite, all the, setbacks or losing businesses?
So it was literally so many years ago. I was 16, 31 years ago. So it was a long time ago, but I think the main reason is because I always wanted to be my own boss. I didn't want anyone else to tell me. So that is also what kept me when it was very, very hard. And Evelyn, I'm very transparent about this. And I not only do I not mind sharing, I think it's very important. I did not make any money, and I just grew my debt until about 8 years ago. So I know the struggle. And I think this is something that my community feels and understands, that I know their struggle. I know how much just $100 is when you don't have money and you have debt. I know how difficult it is to work, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and make less than minimum wage. And you always think, should I just go and work at the local Tim Hortons? That's our coffee chain here in Canada. I would have made more money. I would have made more money working a stable job at, minimum wage than I would most of my entrepreneurial journey. And so, you have to have that tenacity and you have to really want it and believe in it. And the thing with me was the reason I did not quit was because I just couldn't believe that myself, I am smart, I'm talented, I'm hardworking. I just said, how is this possible that I can't make it work? And I knew in my heart that I will figure it out. I will crack the code. And that kept me going. But it's not, for many people, it's not the case. And it's very difficult to stick around. And it's very difficult financially. And it was very challenging for us, very, very challenging for many years. And so it's a big change for us the last few years. But I remember the struggle. I remember it very well.
What happened when you did crack the code? What was it? The idea, the business model itself? Do you think everything just condensed to a point of where it clicked? What do you think happened kind of looking back?
Yeah. So first, I can tell you the story of how the idea came about. I myself was active in Facebook groups for entrepreneurs. And I'm talking about 2015, 2016. And I was there with no other agenda but, to be there, to learn, to be exposed, to be around like-minded people. I was not selling anything. I didn't have any relevant business at the time. I had the cloth diapers business, but that was not why I was there. And what happened was that I started answering a lot of questions about websites. I'm not a web designer. That's not what I was doing. I just have so much experience from all of my previous businesses, and I'm very techie. I love things like that. So I just knew on my own the answers. So people started asking about WordPress and Wix and Squarespace and what should I do here? And they asked the same questions again and again. And I kept answering the same answers again and again. And then I was in the kitchen in our old house with my husband, and I just told him, I said, why doesn't someone just create a website that has everything they already need? It was like a light bulb moment. Like you see, I was like, why? Because I was listening to what they said they need. I had the answers. I knew how to do it. And this is something a bit mysterious. I had the complete vision of what I wanted to create. And it was February 2016 and March 2016, it was already launched. And I had my first clients. And I just had them from the groups because people were asking me and suddenly they were reaching out. I was not doing like nothing. There was no marketing strategy. I built it. I created it. I had this vision. I created the website that I can send people to. And that's how it all started. But then in retrospect, and I thought about it a lot and I talk about it and teach about it, I tried to understand what worked here that did not work everywhere else. And my conclusion was that I took all the good things from all the failed businesses. I don't like to even call them failed businesses. They're just businesses that didn't make money. They were not failed. In many ways, they were very successful. The products were good. The service was good. People were happy. They were just not a good model or sustainable. So I took the good things, the things that worked from that, and I've tried to avoid all the things that didn't work from all my other businesses. For example, I had multiple businesses that had physical products. I understood, for example, that's something I don't want to do. So much money goes into having inventory or production. So that's a little example. So I was like, okay, I need a business that doesn't actually have a physical product. So that was one thing. I wanted something that, for example, the hotel in Costa Rica, and we also had a physical store that attached me to a place, and I felt that I could not leave. So I created this perfect model that doesn't have all the things that were very difficult and lower risk and so on. And that's how No Hassle website came about. But I had just a vision of one part of it over the years that grew to something completely different. Because again, I continue to listen to what my community needs, and I just create that. Oh, there is something I need to tell you. I never liked selling. I think that was my main thing. I never liked selling. So one of the big aha moments was, I don't want to sell. I want to create something that sells itself. So all these things together, I think, made my business today what it is today, based on everything that I've already done in the past that didn't work.
Hey, Evelyn here. I just quickly wanted to hop on to encourage you to sign up to my newsletter. When you do that, you'll not only be informed as soon as a new episode drops, but you also get access to my exclusive Growth Goodie Bag. That is a collection of highly valuable resources provided by our guests and myself, tools, strategies, case studies, templates, and so much more that will help you to grow and monetize that growth journey. If that sounds fair, then click the link and make sure to sign up to my newsletter. How much do you think being in the right community and surrounded by customers has contributed to the success of the No Hassle website? Do you feel like being, like you said, you were around for something different, but you were just immersed in a community and kind of started to feel or condense the data that there is an unmet need?
100%. Yeah. When I think about almost every single product and offer I created in the last 8 years, it was a direct result of what the community wanted and asked for. And the first original one was also the case. So I don't sit around and think, oh, what should I do? What should I do?
Yeah.
What products should I do? I'm like, oh, they want this and this and this. Which one should I choose from? So it's very, very different than, and I think it's a good point, because my previous businesses, it was like my idea out of nowhere. Let's do this, without hearing what people need and understanding it. It was just my idea. Let's, I don't know, create cloth diapers because I want cloth diapers. No, not a good business model.
I think it's so interesting because when I look at my business and when things clicked, it was when I did the living case study where I showed how to grow and nurture the Facebook group. Mainly because the coach I wanted to grow the group for with ads ghosted me kind of last minute. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it myself then. And I wanted to create a personal brand anyways. And it was the first winning offer I ever had was the workbook templates I created for them because I asked them. So I feel like it's almost like a cheat code when you start to surround yourself with, just general, a like-minded set of people, because they will have very similar problems and then you can kind of solve them. I think what you have done so particularly well and what I admire so much and love so much about working with you is that you can take those things that seem really, really complicated and complex and you make them so digestible and you make them feel so doable. Is this something that, or a trait you always had, or did you develop it also through the years of being an entrepreneur?
Yes. If I may say to myself, I always had it. So yes. And going back to my very early days, for example, when it's a whole different story, but I actually left high school when I was very young because I wanted to finish it quickly and do all the tests, take all the tests myself. So, because I like to make things simpler, faster, easier.
So you got yourself out of school and just tested, or how did that work?
You could do it in my country. So I actually graduated a year and a half before all my friends. Wow. And I went to Paris. It's a whole different story. But when I was studying for the exams, I created a system to learn quickly a lot of information. For example, I developed my own little system of getting a lot of information in a short time. So I was doing these kind of things at a young age. But really, I think that this no hassle philosophy for life is what I've always had. So I like taking seemingly complicated processes and making them simpler and easier and systematic. And that's something I've always done. And just a few years ago, my husband, after I already had the business no hassle website, he told me, he said, you've always been a no hassle kind of, you've always done things no hassle and without thinking about it that way. So I do think that is one of the unique sales proposition that I bring. And that, because websites, you can get a website, it's free. WordPress websites are free. You can get Wix, you can get Squarespace, you can build your website on other platforms. These things exist. I did not invent a website. what I did was I took something that people feel very overwhelmed, don't know where to start. They are self-proclaimed non-techies and they feel very helpless. What am I going to do? Do I need to pay now, $1,000, $3,000 for someone else when, and depend on them forever? That's the problem that I saw. And then I said, no, I can probably help you create a beautiful professional website, even if you're self-proclaimed non-techie. So I created the process and the step-by-step instructions and videos to walk people through it, something that already exists and anyone can do. But I just save them so much time and headache and overwhelm. And that's what I try to do in really all my products. I usually don't invent something that doesn't exist. I just make it feasible for pretty much anyone. Sometimes I would say maybe 3 clients a year simply can't do it. Out of hundreds, they just can't do it. It's not for them, but everyone else can do it with the right guidance. And that's what I try to create. And I do think it's something that I've always liked doing and I've done for myself.
I love that. I have 2 questions around it. The first one would be, your journey, has it impacted how you decided to price No Hassle website? Because arguably you could say it is very, very, very affordable for what it offers. And my second question would be, how do you're now also working with students. I would love to touch base on that in a second. The students that you're currently working with, how do you help them kind of bring your kind of signature is the No Hassle? And I feel like almost every entrepreneur has kind of their own fingerprint. How do you help them put their fingerprints on their offers to give them this edge, like you did with No Hassle, the website, and later on also the club and all the offers?
So answering your first question, I priced No Hassle website back in 2016 for $99. That's it. One time, that's it. And it's a complete website with lifetime support. I have clients who bought a website in 2016 and never bought anything else from me. And they're still my clients and they come back for, support and so on. My idea was very simple. I wanted to make sure that it's a sustainable business, but I wanted to have 5,000 clients paying me $99 rather than 99 clients paying me $5,000. The math is the same. And that was the idea. And I think that I wanted that because I knew at that time when I started No Hassle website, $99 was a lot of money for me and my family. We were struggling. I was going to the supermarket with like $100 in my head and counting as I put it in the cart. So I'm not going to tell someone that, oh, it's just $99. It's not a problem. Or it's just $1,000 for an amazing website. I wanted to make it accessible and affordable. As long as the business model allows for it, and time has proved that it was a sustainable business model, then that's all that matters. And now going to your second question, one of the things I tell my community, and they know, is that I say that all these prices and numbers are made up numbers. There is no real intrinsic value to the products that we create digitally or services. As long as it is a successful, sustainable business model and you have the clients who are willing to pay it, then it's a good price. But my website, objectively, if a designer created that, they would charge 10 to 50 times more for the exact same product. But it would be a completely different process and different kind of clientele and so on. And I wanted to meet my clients where they are now and not where they want to be, because they're not there yet. I want to meet them where they are, make it available, accessible, manageable to them. And I don't want to be the one carrying any burden of someone getting into debt because of my product. So all of these things are part of my philosophy. And I know that when I was in their place, I didn't want to buy a $2,000 course when I need to pay the mortgage and I'm struggling very, very much to do that. And I didn't want to put anyone in that position. So this is what one of the things I tell my clients to position themselves in a unique way is just to create a product and a service and not think about what are other people pricing it? How are other people doing it? Creating their own products, creating their own offer unique to their experience and process, and also pricing it in a way that matches the community they want to work with, the stage that their community is, And then you need to figure out that it's going to be sustainable. If it's not sustainable, it's not going to work. And I've had businesses that were not sustainable, but it can be done exactly because most of us are doing it online, and our actual, fixed costs are relatively very low. So we can decide how we price and how we serve and to what, extent to meet our clients and to make it easy. I always want it to be a win-win situation. I don't want to feel when someone buys from me that, oh, yay, I got it, and they're screwed. They spent a lot of money. Everyone needs to be happy during the transaction and after. So those are the kind of positioning that I recommend for my clients as well.
I love that. So we have a few kind of amazing businesses, right, that got you by, but it wasn't a big breakthrough. Eventually, you had your big break with No Hassle website. What happened after? Eventually, you started to help others as well, venture into mentoring. So what happened there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, for example, I did not want to be a coach in any way. That's not a model that I wanted to do. So I wanted to think, how can I create services and products that will be like mass coaching a little bit. So make it, more available to more people and less of the burden. Again, I was matching it to my own needs and to the needs of the community. I did not want to get on calls, one-on-one calls. It's too much for me. I'm stressed just talking about it now. That was a no-go. However, I saw that the community wants more and more. So I remember it quite vividly. I started in early 2016 and I started getting a few clients, and someone bought for $99 and another person. And suddenly, 15 people bought $1,500. I hadn't made $1,500 in the previous, 3 years. So it was very, very exciting. But, a few dozen people ended up buying towards the end of the year. And at that point, they started asking, they said, wow, I love my website. I now want to do a course. Can you build us something that helps us sell courses? So that's when I had a real jump within the business. That was when I did my first big launch. I saw all these big launches and I wanted to do it. And what I did was I did a 5-day challenge. It was at the time 5 days. And at the end of the challenge, I offered them my new product, which was also $99. And that was a platform to sell and host courses and memberships. So that it's a sister product to No Hassle website. And so they asked for it. I created it, but then I did the challenge. And then I discovered the magic of the challenge of getting people to take action. That the action that they took in those 5 days was so, mind-blowing for so many of the people that I figured I'm onto something. And then I started doing these challenges, many times regardless of any product that I was introducing. So again, everything built on each other based on what I heard people need, what I saw, and where I saw I can get them results. So that's how that grew. And it ended up growing into, I have a product for funnels and I have a product for courses. And then I created a club. And I basically the club that I had for 4 years was every month we do a complete project from start to finish over a weekend. And it was very successful for many years. And that really transitioned my business to more support and guidance and training as opposed to a software or a website. But it always matched because they needed both. My clients needed both. And eventually that club turned into the Momentum Makers, which is the membership that I currently have, but was the same idea, just upgraded version of it. So it was always very organic, but it's very organic, but not just random. So it happens because it is there and I notice it, my clients ask for it, and I take action, which is my philosophy, to take action.
That is when we talked about your membership and, brainstormed a little bit. I think that this is also something that I saw you bringing very uniquely also to the table, which is a lot of people have those challenges, right? But often they're geared towards a launch, right? Introducing something after, or they kind of information heavy. And I think what I saw in your challenges is you really get people to do the work. And one of your or one of the signature slogans I connect with you as well is the transformative action. Can you talk to me about why taking action is so transformative and how you get so many people, so many of your clients to take action? Because I know, as a membership owner myself, I sometimes say we're almost like a gym. We can provide the knowledge, the infrastructure, the support, but we can't drag people in there. And then at the same time, sometimes I look at you and I'm like, but did she drag people in there? Because somehow you just really, really get people after.
I lure them in. I don't drag them. I lure them in.
You seduce them in.
Okay,
tell us your secrets.
Yeah, I seduce them in and then I don't let them out. No, I've developed over the years a framework that my community knows very well. And it's called the trifecta process. And it is strategy, tactics, and implementation. Imagine a Venn diagram, strategy, tactics, implementation. That point where they all meet, that is the sweet spot. That is where success lies. And you need all three. You need all three. In fact, I also believe in the concept of mindset first. So first mindset, and then these three elements. And that's what I try to provide in almost everything I do. However, most other programs, products, offers, and so on, they either only focus on one of these three elements or on two max, but very, very rarely on all three. Now, that's okay. You can't, not everyone can and needs to offer all three elements. But many, many times what happens is people are introduced or sold just the strategy. So this is how it works. This is what you need to do. Good luck. Bye-bye. Ciao. So that's one thing, right? And the other part is the tactics. It's the tools. It's the shiny object. Oh, this will change everything. If you just have this thing in place, then everything will work. But if you don't have the right strategy, plus you don't take action, then it's not going to happen. And many times, so strategy, people waste a lot of time. So if you don't have a good strategy, you waste a lot of time. If you don't have good tactics, you waste a lot of money because you just do all kinds of different things without direction. You're just using the tool. It doesn't help if you have a hammer and you're not building anything. Yeah. And then there's the part of the action. That's where I see most online offers, and not just online, in life. Like people can buy a treadmill. Yeah. It's the tool. It's not going to get you what's the strategy and are you going to take action? Same analogy as you had before. So it's the action that most programs and offers online and not online lack. And that's where I put a lot of emphasis. So when I do my challenges, I usually do day one is the strategy. They understand what they need to do. They have a map, a roadmap to it. Then on day two, we talk about how do you actually do it, the how to, the tools, the step-by-step. And then day three is let's take action. And it's pretty amazing what you can get done literally in 3 days when it's guided and clear. I mean, people sit on ideas for years. I have a little program on creating courses. Every time when we start, it's a 7-day thing. 7 days, you create a course from start to finish, including recording the videos. People sit on these ideas for years. One of the first things I ask them is, please tell me how long you've been sitting on this course idea that we're going to do in 1 week. How is it possible? But it is possible because the things we actually need to do in our business don't take as much time as we take for them usually. I mean, people literally sit on ideas and work on things for months and months. And I would say that pretty much anything that we do online can and should be completed within a month or two. Otherwise, even less, but really, and otherwise, you're sitting on the idea. You're not doing it. And that's the big difference. And I see it all the time, even with everything I do. I have clients who buy a no-hassle website and sit on it for years, literally, and pay for hosting and pay for their domain. And I have clients who buy it and in 1 week and finish everything. It's the same work. It's not magical. So I think that's what's missing in many programs. And that's where I put a lot of emphasis in the community.
I love this. And I think one part of this is kind of scoping the outcome, right? So where you say, okay, what can we achieve in 3 days? And it needs to be like this meaningful building block, which I think you do really well in the Momentum Makers. So I feel either that is from your experience or from the engagement in communities where people consider this like an entity, and that in itself is kind of a problem solved. But the other thing, and I would love if you could share this with the person listening, how do you, when the third day is taking action, how do you kind of hold the space for your clients to take the action? Like, what is the setup there?
Okay, so first of all, I do think that having the strategy and the tactics taken care of before you take action makes taking the action so much simpler. They believe in themselves. They see that it's possible. There's a beginning and end. There are steps on the way. If you just take those steps, then you will make it. As opposed to, I need to build a funnel and you just stare at the screen. Where do I start? What do I do? I don't know, I don't know what to do. Then it's very hard to take action. You don't believe, you're going to do it. You're going to complete it because you don't even see the end. So first there's that preparation. That's very, very important. I can't jump to the action. You cannot jump to the action. But then more specifically, I think that I always create these experiences for people in a group community setting. So we do it mostly in a Facebook group. Sometimes it's for my community, it's always the same Facebook group. But if I do something that's open to the public, then it would be a unique pop-up group, basically. So there's already that immediate energy of everyone working on the same thing. And that is really motivating. I do lives and I do Q&As. And then I virtually kick their butt for beyond, not just the 3 days, but beyond that. For example, we almost always have a giveaway a few days after. So for example, I never want people to feel bad if they're behind or they don't do it, because you can't all do it during those 3 days or during the weekend that we work on something. Some people have all the intentions, even clear their schedule, and then something happens. So I don't want them to feel that if they miss the first day that they can't catch up. So there's a lot about that. It's not too late to catch up. You can do it. We are here. The community is here. And then we take action together and people post and people see what others are doing. So there's that, encouragement, and people write and say, I didn't think I could make it, but I did it, so others think to themselves, I can do it as well. So that all happens in this format, which again, I didn't want to do one-on-one coaching. So I leverage the community to help with the coaching. And then we have a giveaway that is usually about a week after the date of the last day, because you have time. It doesn't end at the day that I finish my life. But at the same time, if we drag it more than about a week, then people will not take action. So there are all kinds of different small things like that get people to take action. But I think more than anything, it's the belief that they can do it that makes them take action. And that belief comes from, the initial training, understanding of the strategy and tactics. And then I tell them, you just need to do it now, which you just need to do it because you have everything else. And that's something that in most cases people don't have. So they don't know how to just do it.
This is so amazing. And I think a lot of the people listening, they either have their own programs or communities, etc. And I hope that they consider more incorporating challenges. I'm not sure if it always has to be like a 3-day kind of event, but just getting the community together to take action, I think it could be really, really transformative. Somebody who would want to get started with this, how would you set them up? Like if you were to give them a quick rundown, so you want to run a challenge, here's what you need to know. And again, keep it like no hassle, really, really beginner friendly.
I have a lot to say about this. And over the years, again, my own community came to me and said, hey, it's worked so well for me. I want to be able to offer it to my clients. And I know that many of them have adapted similar things. And I've created trainings on this. But there is one thing I want to add just before that. I feel a very strong responsibility for the promises that I make. So when I tell someone, join this, whatever it is, join this, and by the end of it, you will have, this is, I list the outcome that they will have. I take that very, very seriously. Yes, I don't go to their house and drag them to the gym, but I make it so that I remove as many possible resistances on the way. And that is our response. I do feel that it is my responsibility. There's a certain point, I don't carry the burden of them not doing it. That's not on me. However, I do have a responsibility not just to throw things at them and say, good luck, or I'll see you, in the next product I tried to sell you. No, I want them to get results. Plus, it is the best strategy. Talking about strategy, it's the best strategy to get more people to hear about you. I mean, the amount of word of mouth that I've gotten over the years is ridiculous. If you're more analytic and you count things and you have spreadsheets, I'm more intuitive. I just know these people came from the other people, So, and it all happens because they got the results. If they didn't get the results, they wouldn't recommend it. So I take a lot of pride, but also responsibility and care in promising the right thing to begin with, and then making sure I deliver on it. And that goes back to your question, how do people start with a challenge? First of all, you need to be very clear on what you're promising them that they will achieve in the challenge. That's where it starts. What is going to happen in these 3 days, and then, or 5 days, or a week, or one day? You can have a 1-day implementation with your one-on-one client. I mean, it doesn't have to be a group. It can come in many, many different ways. But you have to be very clear about what will happen by the end of this time together. And then you reverse engineer the steps. And I do recommend for everyone to think about, what strategy am I going to teach them to show them, your own clients? What tools, what tactics are we going to use? And how am I going to kick their butt into action? Those are the 3 steps that you have responsibility for when you want to get your own clients to take action. And this applies to any business and anything you do. Even if you do custom work for people, if there's anything that your clients need to do on their side, and you feel that you're doing the things, you provided them with everything, and they're not taking action, ask yourself, what can I do? What can I offer them? Whether it is free, an extra thing, one-on-one, group setting, however it is, what can I do to get my clients the results I promised them that they're not getting yet because they're missing that implementation step usually? And so, yeah, that's how I recommend you do it. And there are many formats of doing it. I have my own very clear system of how to get things done, but that's because I've been doing it for a long time.
This is so cool. I need to get a little bit more butt kicking, I believe. How do you strike? So when you kick butts, how do you strike a balance between being demanding with or calling them to take action, and at the same time being kind of gentle with people who are already feeling kind of overwhelmed?
So the balance is between being empathic and understanding their struggles. That's one side. And being a nonsense, say it like it is, tell it like it is. This is what happened. So I have both. I think that I give both of these things. For example, people can post their work. I don't just, in the group, I don't just say, yay, great job. I give them constructive, criticism if it's needed. Like, this is great, but why don't you try this? Or, something that they would learn from and understand and improve. It's not just about saying, oh, you're doing great. You're doing great. I give, most of my clients are women. So I serve 95, even more than 95% are female entrepreneurs. And I think that it's very empowering to show them that they can do more than they've done before, not make them feel guilty or shame that they haven't done. I understand that. And I believe me, you also know, just in the last few months, I've been going through a bit of a rough time. I'm finding myself, um, for personal reasons, I'm finding myself not getting everything I want done. It's just not happening. And I'm not used to that because I'm very, I take action. And so I can relate to all of that, but I don't dive into feeling blame or shame. I get my head back on track and I take action. And just in the last few days, I've done so much work. I feel it, I caught up with all the previous months almost. And that's a great feeling. So when I help them, I acknowledge that. I understand the struggle is real. The struggle is real. However, if you want to get results, this is the truth. This is what you need to do. There's no magic. There's nothing. You have to do the work. I keep on telling them. You can't outsource your business. So yes, you can get a VA, but you need to build it. Another little philosophy that I have is that there are a lot of, I don't know what to say, like sayings in our industry or so-called truths in our industry that I think are bullshit. So I make sure that I share that with people. For example, only work in your genius zone of
Yeah.
genius, No. You're not going to have a business if you only work in your zone of genius. Not going to happen. Your zone of genius doesn't cover accounting and building websites, probably, and all the things you need to build an online business. When you grow and you know all these things and you're making money, you can bring in help. But you have to do this work. So I try to find the balance between this needs to get done or you will not make money at all. You can keep on dreaming and doing the things. But at the same time, I understand the struggle. I know it's hard. I know you don't have time. I know your kids, all the things that we all experience. I acknowledge that. I've been there. I understand it. So that's where I try to balance it in my community.
That's really good. And that's also, I think, some solid boundary setting skills needed. How do you manage setting boundaries with members, right? Especially when you have become such a source of solution for them often, right? And such a trusted advisor. How do you make sure that there are the right boundaries in place?
I wouldn't say that I'm great at that.
Okay.
I am better and so I have some rules. For example, I never get on calls. I get a lot of requests for calls and people offer me money. I'm like, not happening. I'm not getting on a Zoom with you. We will deal with it in a different way. So I have those kind of boundaries. However, where I don't have great boundaries is where I work 365 days a year. So I work every day a lot. And I've been doing that always. It doesn't matter how much money I make or don't make. I pretty much do the same. I now can serve more people. I now have a team that helps me, but it doesn't affect so much how much I work. And in that sense, you can ask my kids and husband. I don't have great boundaries. And I also work weird hours. And so people feel that I'm there all the time, although I'm not there all the time, and I got them used to it, and that's not great. We have made quite a lot of progress in the last few months because my team and myself, we created a new support system, and it's important because it actually reflects on the boundaries and my responsibilities. We created a new support system that has reduced the amount of time we need to spend by at least half.
Wow.
It's amazing. It actually changed the business in the last few months, and it's noticeable in my downtime. I do feel it, and the family can attest that I do work a little less than I used to. But the key here was that I put back more responsibility on the clients. So instead of being available for everything and answering everything, we gave them a better system to find what they need to first try on their own and then only then reach out to us. So that is something that I recognize that we're doing wrong, that I'm being too available for them in a way that's not good for them as well as for myself and my team. because we were feeling the burnout and the repetitiveness of everything we do. So we created a better system. It took us months to do because we didn't have the time, because we serve all the time. So there's these catch-22s in the business where you need to implement something. You have the strategy, you have the tactics, you literally do not have the time for it. But we made the time. In fact, to do this, I announced in my group and sent out an email to my entire community saying, we're taking a few days off. Don't talk to us. We're getting a better system in place. And they were all, yay, great. We'll give you a few days, do it. And it's something I didn't think about doing because I was always thinking, we don't have time to even implement it. But then I asked for it. I asked for the time, and it worked out really well. But this goes back to the points that you made, both boundaries and how do you get people to take action? We have responsibility as business owners to really optimize and maximize the results that they can get. And not just saying, good luck, people, I provided you with some information, good luck. There are always better things we can do, smarter things we can do. We don't have to feel bad if they don't do it, as long as we do our part. And that's what I try to do. But it doesn't mean that everything I have in place is always ideal and optimal for you.
There's so many cool nuggets that I'm taking away from this. So first, I'm really grateful that you were so transparent about sharing the boundaries, because it's something that I feel like I should have learned like so many years ago. And for some reason, I'm still struggling. So to hear that, it's from somebody I also look up to and respect so much, to hear that it's also still a struggle kind of makes me feel a little bit less bad about myself, not having it fully figured out. Also, the portion of where this kind of project needs to happen in your business, but at the same time, you have so many clients that you serve, right? And then saying, okay, sometimes the project just moves ahead slower than you would have wished before. Mm-hmm. But still pushing it through, right? Saying, okay, this is months, but we push through. And then also the kind of just asking your community back for a favor and saying, hey, I want to make this better for you. So that means I have to be out, and just setting that expectation. Did you get any complaints about that, or was that just cool?
No, it was just cool. And I want to say, every time in the history of my business that I had to, I can't even remember, but once I had to like cancel something. I don't even remember, maybe a live or something. And, I changed my entire life and family and everyone not to make that change. But really, all it took was to ask and say, hey, I need to make a change. I need to cancel, or whatever it was. And I've never got any negative backlash. Plus, if people are going to give me shit about it, they can, I don't really, that's not the vibe I'm looking for in a client and in our community. And I think if anything, they always, respect that and want to help and want to support. It never failed, actually. I don't want to abuse it. I don't do it often, but it's a good reminder than when it's needed, because there's more, people know that there is more to my life than my business. Mm-hmm. So when I actually bring it in, when I show that, when I need that space, I think they appreciate it. It also reminds them that they can do the same for themselves. Yeah. And that's what happens when you have a community of really like-minded, we throw that like-minded entrepreneurs. Yeah. That's really what it means. Those entrepreneurs that understand that we are women who have other things and other commitments and other worries, and, and so when I bring that in, it never fails, actually, never.
Yeah, this is so beautiful. Like so much, yes. Because I also feel that your community is almost relieved when you are like, I feel like for my community, the other day I had to take a day off because my voice was just not there. I was feeling really sick. And then they were like, yeah, thank you for setting a good example, taking care of yourself. And I was like, yeah, actually, I'm setting a really bad example, Yes. But it's like you feel this responsibility that you have. So you would, for some reason, you wouldn't give yourself the permission. But that's a good reminder. And I might have to pull that card at one time for one of my programs to just say, I need a week off so I can overhaul all of this for you, so I don't have to keep answering the same questions. Because there's also work,
You should.
right? And working on something over the months, like you work on it, you're out of it. You work on it, you're out of it. So whenever there's always the loss of time when you have to get back into it. Couple of last questions that I have for you. One, I think, is you're the serial entrepreneur, right? And you don't only have the Weiss website and the Momentum Makers. You also have an Etsy store together with your family. And I would love if you could speak to me about that. Because
That's right.
it's setting such a beautiful example.
You're giving out all my secrets. So we have 2 kids, and my son is 13, going to be 14 soon, and my daughter, who's 16. And my son is very much like me in many ways. He's very techy. He's tenacious. He is hardworking. My daughter likes to be more social and do other things. She's extremely talented. She's an artist. But my son, I think it was my son who came to me, if I remember correctly, and wanted us to start an Etsy store together. Now, the only reason I thought about Etsy or brought it up maybe in dinner or so on is because of Jessa, of course. So I learned from Jessa about Etsy. I don't think I've ever bought from Etsy myself. Yeah, so it wasn't that I was on that platform, but AI was coming in and Midjourney and all these things. And suddenly I was like, maybe we can do this. And my son and I started at the Etsy store last May. And we just followed step by step exactly what Jessa teaches in her program. Literally, I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about it. And I mean, step by step, Jessa says, so my son and I, we would watch the video, we would implement. We would watch the video, we would implement. And we opened it last year. My husband joined and my daughter did as well. And we are now a little over a year into it. And the business makes about $1,500 a month.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. I love the sound of the cha-ching on the phone. It rings and everyone in the house is like, what did we sell? Because that's the only cha-ching that rings in the house. And it has been an amazing project for the family. My husband is now very much into it. We have a whole system going. My husband does most of the Midjourney work. My son every day, 5 days a week. And he's just 13, 5 days a week. He removes all the backgrounds. He upscales them. And then we upload the listings every day without fail during the business week, the 5 days. And we've been doing that consistently since last year. And that is why it is working, because there's a difference between seeing what Jessa teaches and just doing the first step and actually continuously doing the work every day and uploading the new listings, because that's what you're supposed to do. That's what Jessa tells you to do. If you don't do the work, it's not going to happen. And it's true for that business and for other businesses. And it's just been so great. We love it so much. We're working on our second store, cool. And we want to have at least another one. Yeah. So I got the family into the businesses as well.
That's so cool. So first off, it's cool because the mindset, the skills, actually the skills as in how you're able to hold yourself being consistent, because that's, I think, is a skill in itself, translates right to other business opportunities as well. So it becomes kind of easier.
Yes.
And then also your son having the gift of learning that so early, right? And he must be so proud. I think
he is. I can see a lot of myself in him. He's tough. He's strict with himself as well. So I do try to, help him also balance. But I do think it's skills. But to be honest, I also think that it is a personality trait. So this is something important. Many people or many women in my community, they want to have a successful business. But sometimes it's important to realize that you may not be completely built for it. It's not easy to hear. But it's true, because you need to be able to get through the tough times. You need to be able to do the work that you need to do. And if you feel that it's too much of it's not the struggle, it just takes a toll on you, then maybe you have to rethink the model or what's happening or how you can do it. And I think I tell my community, I say almost each one of you, I say almost, but almost each one of you can build an online business that makes $2,500. That number, $2,500, is, I found it to be a magical number, because we always see $100,000, launches and
10K
all these
months
things.
at
And I call
least.
bullshit. And yeah, and I call bullshit on all of these things, because I know, and I know from my community, that around $2,500 or pounds or euros, it doesn't matter, is life changing. That is the number that most of our community, we share a lot of the same, clients and communities, typical client, I would say, at $2,500 would make all the difference and will make their dreams and freedom come. It means retiring early. It means being able to pay debt. It means being able to take that single beautiful vacation they want to take with their family once a year. You don't need to make $100,000 a month. You just, that 2,500, and I remember it. I remember when we made so little money that I was, it's just the struggle, a daily struggle. It's so hard. And I remember telling myself, if I just had, $2,000 or $2,500 more per month, I would be golden. I would be golden. And it's true. That's what happened. It's so going back to the personality, you don't always need to be that thing that you think you need to be, and you don't maybe have that in you, or just it makes you feel uncomfortable. Maybe you're an introvert and you know that you'll need to do things you don't want. That's not a sustainable model. But you can find a way. Maybe it's Etsy.
Yeah.
You can find a way to make $2,500 a month. Yeah. All of you, everyone in my community can do it. Probably everyone that is listening to this. So I do think that not everyone is built for every kind of entrepreneurial model, but pretty much everyone in the world we live in now, and the possibilities and knowledge that we have and you all have access to, can make a business that is profitable and is life-changing. And that's something that I come back to my community a lot. Remind them that.
Yeah, it's a really, really good reminder, because I also feel like if we're setting the bar so high, it also leads to not being appreciative of the small wins, of the, of all the breadcrumbs that actually lead the way towards something more bigger, and just focusing on getting to that stage, maybe where you can do this full time, is a complete game changer. So I really love that you put things in perspective. For, somebody who doesn't have an entrepreneurial background or a huge network yet, is maybe just starting out, what would be your advice for the person listening that, might either just get started or might feel like they're at a major plateau or, hitting the wall at the moment?
That's a good question. And first of all, I would like to remind them what I just said. It is possible. Let's not aim for 100,000. This is not to reduce or minimize your dreams. You'll get, if you get to 2,500, you can get to 5,000. If you can get to 5,000, you can get to 10,000. Now we're talking big numbers and, an impact that's not just on you. But let's start with that small thing, and you can believe in that. That is something that all of you, regardless of if you're in a plateau, you're just starting out, you're not sure, this is attainable and possible for pretty much everyone in the world we live in. So what I would recommend is to decide on the type of business that you want, and then find the person or program that would help you understand that. It does not need to be a $2,000 program, okay? It needs to be a system that you want to follow. So one of the things I love about you, Evelyn, is that, like me, you have very clear frameworks. This is the system. This is the roadmap. It's not just up in the air. Follow this. And when you have that and you find that person that you want to emulate the process, not them, just the process that they went through, stick with that, because there are so many ways to have a successful business online. There's not just one way. It's not just our two ways of doing things. There are, thousands of ways of doing it. But when you start looking, in all directions, not following through, jumping on shiny objects, getting into debt, you're just, in my opinion, you're just, getting it harder on yourself to get to the point you want to get to, instead of finding something. Now, it doesn't mean that the first thing that you encountered is the right solution. You can look around, but you don't need to invest everything in it and all the money and all the time. Look around, find things, trust, the system in someone, and then do that. Just follow through. Evelyn, I send people to you all the time. I tell them, join Evelyn's $7 membership. You will learn so much. She has a whole thing, 50K. Just go through that, do that, and then talk to me. And it's as easy as that. I mean, the actual solution is not mysterious. You do this and you do this and you do this and you follow through and you do this, and it can work for you. You don't need to be special for those things to work with you. You actually just need to do it. And I think that many people don't do it. They don't complete what they need to do. And we've seen that. There are people who stay on track, take action, and then there are people who buy into the dreams and don't take action. And we help as much as we can. We talked about, but we can't make them do that or tell them it will work even if you don't do that. It won't. Just won't work.
I would want to ask one last question, because I think maybe there's something there. So I tried, and maybe you can help me. I've tried various tools to help people. I have my daily self-management worksheet, just like the Eisenhower matrix that works really well for me.
Mm-hmm.
That actually was a game changer for me. But I can't get, the majority of people are the ones that need it most to use the tool. Did you always have that capacity to, when you set your heart on a project, to really commit to it, and the shiny objects just disappeared? So were you able to always focus? Or is that also something you eventually picked up? And you think that there's a process to potentially being able to apply focus to whatever you do?
I have to say that I sometimes focus on things to a fault. Like I start something and I have to finish it, even when the signs are telling me that, it's past due already. So I think that is in my personality. It's kind of control. I don't tend to go for shiny objects. For example, many times people say, "Hey, Neta, do you know this? I follow this one." No, I don't know, because I don't follow anyone.
I don't know. I don't want
anything.
to know.
I don't buy a lot of things. When I find someone or something that I love, I stick with it. And you're a great example. I want to share the story of how I met you. I met you because you showed up on my feed on Facebook. And I was like, who is this woman? I want to know more about this woman. And and it's so rare for me. I think I probably saw you a few times, your little videos but then I got the $7 membership and I upgraded, I think, immediately. And I was hooked. I consumed everything you had, a few years ago, everything you had over a weekend.
Wow.
I consumed everything. I saw it on high speed and I was like, just
all the data,
soaking it all in, all the data. That's my way of doing things. I was soaking all of it, and then my brain works and I can figure out what I want to do. But I had a business crush on you. Like, it was full blown. I'm a romantic, so it's not a surprise, but and that has not happened to me since. By the way, it's been a few, like I can't think of a single person other than you. And it only happened maybe once before for me. So it's not, I don't jump, but I go in deep and I just stick with it. So to a fault sometimes, but many times not to a fault.
So finding something that resonates, really consuming everything you can, and then full focus following through, but trusting your gut that I think that you can do it and you have the tools to get it right. And also asking for that support. Did I capture it right?
I don't think it's necessarily the right strategy for others. I think that you need to simplify things for yourself. Remember, I I make things no hassle, but for that I need all the info.
Yeah.
Most people need just the no hassle part of it, just the step by step. So I don't necessarily think that people should consume so much and then figure things out. They should jump to the place where someone else figured it out.
Yeah.
It's not easy necessarily to find that, but that's what you need to look for. And to make sure that it's not just strategy, it's not just tactics, and it's, you need to have those two things to be able to implement. So make sure that when you start a process and you say, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna take all these steps, that you have a plan and there's an end and you'll know the outcome. It's not just generic, do things, good luck. This is how you need to do it, and send them off. You want to have something that is very clear and know that at any given point, if you're stuck, you'll be able to find the answer and continue on that road and not start going to other places, because there's I don't spend much time on YouTube. But, you go into something. I was looking for how to install, don't even ask, a well pump. Okay, I got into all kinds of do-it-yourself stuff because I love these things. Why? Why am I watching it in the middle of the night? I just needed another thing. So don't get sidetracked by other things. Have a clear path and get those steps without having to know everything, because that's part of the problem. There's so much more.
Yeah.
Even, I've been doing it for 25 years. I know a lot. I've had so many business models. Really, I don't even want to get into the other things I didn't mention. I've done it. I've learned it. I've seen it. I don't need all of that. I just need, one thing, really. One thing, one system that then you can replicate. And this is something, I've had so many failed businesses. We don't call them failed, but previous businesses. And I now know that even if something happens to No Hassle website, to my business now, I will be okay. That's not something I knew before, because what I know and how I do things can now be applied to so many other businesses. So that I think is very important. It's finding that system that works, following through, and then doing it again and again and implementing it again and again.
Thank you so much,
Those are my
Neta.
thoughts.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.